I wanted to talk today about some practical things in bar prep, and in particular, how you could actually work towards shaping the muscle you're trying to create in the same way you do in the gym. And it was all very pumpy and motivating and a little bit more technical than I have been in the past several days. But I had a student this morning who was really in a great state of distress. And I actually had to tell her to sit back in her chair and take 3 seconds of a breath and take 5 seconds to let the air out so she could reset her nervous system and receive what I was trying to tell her about her instructions, because she was so far ahead of them that she was convinced that she couldn't understand what I was telling her to do. And while she was in that state, she really couldn't understand what I was trying to tell her to do, because she was panicked and couldn't find her thoughts. So I want to talk about something that I didn't plan on talking about, that I think might maybe be more necessary at this stage in bar prep when things start to feel so real. And whatever you're doing, again, if I've introduced myself to you before, I'm a bar coach, but I also come by my work in a really unusual way. I was not a traditional law student. I had a lot of very unusual life experiences leading up to that. I have always taken a position of mentoring and trying to find a way to make my life meaningful and some of my struggles meaningful through my interactions with humans. So wherever you're receiving this, it's meant for you. This is not, bound strictly to bar exam students. The bar exam is really just sort of like a symbol, for things that people do to change themselves. So put it wherever it is in your life. And the one thing that I said to her that I would like to say to you, and then I want to go on to tell you the bigger thing I want to say, is that you've been qualified by some set of things to take this test. So what if you just allow me to anoint you with passing, and then you just do the work? And I'll have to check in on her periodically to take away her own mind interfering from what I've given her, which is the certainty that she can and will pass. Sometimes I actually can see that about a student in the outside perimeter of their body. Their passing is sure. But for everybody, if you do what it requires and you're capable, then you pass. That's what it is. So you don't need to make the work harder by engaging yourself in a set of daily questions and inquiry about whether you can do it. That's a given. So passing should be a given. And if you work every day as if you've passed, then you just actualize passing by doing the right things. So that's something that I think is really important for whatever your endeavor is. Just imagine it is done and then just do what it requires. There is the mystical component of, declaring it done. That goes to a lot of those attraction ideas. But then there is the practical truth that as, collections of cells and body and spirit and mind, we should be able to do anything we set out to do if we're qualified and we're doing what it requires. So that's just a given. Just imagine that you passed the test, finished the race, closed on your house, pick a thing, whatever it is you're trying to make happen. If you move in its direction and you are qualified to have the thing it requires, then it is given, it is done, just do the work. But the more important thing, I think, that came up, in that lesson where I felt like I had the most impact and where I'd most like to impact you, is that wherever you are that you're struggling right now, if this is coming across your feed, I just want to assure you that if you can hold on through this thing, you cannot imagine what's coming. So if you hold on because you don't know what's coming, it is a given that it will be better than the thing that you think you lost. This is a story that everybody tells every single day, unless, of course, people are intent on suffering, and you can create more of that too, no question about it. But I want to tell you that there was a time in my life when somebody interfered with that loop of thoughts I was having about a series of events that brought me to a place in my life that I never expected or intended, and I felt like it was all so unfair, like everything had been stripped of me that I really cared about and believed in, and I didn't make any of the choices that made that happen. So here I was, trying to go to school, working at a job that was not very elevating. I was a single mom trying to earn enough money to just have basic things, when just a week before that I was, living in a structured environment where all the things that I thought represented what I cared about were happening every day. So, how is this fair? And how can it ever get better than this? Because it's already been taken from me. I've already been taken out of the thing that I imagined as my best possibility. And then I encountered an interaction with my accountant that completely changed my life. And I will repeat that, an interaction with my accountant that changed my life. So I hope you get this interaction in that same way, because it's still one of the most important things that ever happened to me. And that is to say, I arrived at his office to do my taxes that year, which was never a pleasant, because that experience never brought me any happiness. We never had enough money. We always struggled, and he always gave us, some encouragement that we get better. But in this case, it wasn't so bad on the money front, even though I was struggling. The year before was fine, better. But the thing that it was about, the family and all the things that I was trying to build every year were no longer there. So I lost everything in my mind. And I must have said something out loud that sounded really alarming, like I don't see the point of going on or something like that. And I can't deny that I actually felt that way. I thought, I'm going to get this, tax filing done, and just maybe on my worst imagination, get in my car and close my eyes and see where my car goes. I was feeling so low about what I believed were the highest possibilities for my life being taken from me. And somewhere in the course of this interaction, this man that I did not know began to weep and told me a story about his experience in Vietnam, where everything that he believed in was taken from him, and he had to watch, of course, all of the horrors of that experience just diminish everything that he believed in and cared about. And he certainly wasn't where he wanted to be. And by the time he was on his way home, much as he wanted to get home every day and away from that, he didn't care so much about getting home or anything by that point, because he was just devoid of any hope or feeling. And the only thing that happened next is that this relative stranger reached very close to my face across the desk and moved into my face to tell me to hold on. Hold on, he said. You don't know what's coming. And he said, if you look behind you on that table, every picture that is of a joyous occasion in my life came after that day when I didn't think there was anything left. I took that to be air and oxygen that I needed so badly at that moment, just to move on one more day. And I floated out of there, and the hair will stand up on my arms as it is right now every time I remember that story, because I don't remember ever being lower, and I don't remember someone having more of an impact on me. And I've met some great, important people in my life. That changed my life, because I didn't have a field of reference for what could be possible when you lost everything before that. And then I came to learn that kind of thing might happen actually as a way to reroute you, or to give you more possibility than you could have imagined. And indeed, my life became so much more than I could have imagined, which is not to say I would have preferred that I was, alone raising my son, or having to watch some of the things I cared about, be diverted in other directions. No, of course, nobody wants to go through those hard things, but we don't always have the greater picture when we're experiencing them. So sometimes if you can't have the greater picture of what they could be, it might be worth just not having a picture at all and allowing yourself to have a void. I don't know what this is, what it's for, why it's happening, what it might do to me, why I had to experience this. But I don't have to decide right now that there's nothing better than what I just lost. In fact, you should assume that there is, because I've never, ever had something change my initial intention only to grow into something better not be the case. So I want to offer that to you. Now, I also can say that people can make their lives entrenched in sadness and ugliness and unhappiness if they determine that, but not you people, because you're already in the field of transformation, so you are already of that ilk. I, for one, consider myself a change agent. So once I realized I had a gift to reach people with, this work that I do, because I see humans in the process of trying to change themselves and suffering there, it just grew upon itself until it became the thing I look back behind me and say, oh, that's what I was meant to be. So I had to lose all of that other thing that I thought was everything that my life was supposed to be, to have the life I was supposed to have. And I'm sure you've heard stories like this your whole life, but that actually happened to me. Somebody actually interfered in my process of despair and told me to expect better, and I have had better. So that's your message for today. If this is coming across your page today and you needed to hear this, just know that I take that really seriously.